Dr. Lisa Park stood on the deck of the research ship Deep Explorer and watched the sun rise over the Pacific Ocean. The water was calm today, which was perfect for their mission. Lisa had been planning this dive for 3 years. She wanted to go deeper into the Mariana Trench than anyone had ever gone before. "The equipment is ready, Dr. Park," said Jake Miller, walking up behind her. Jake was the team's marine biologist. He was tall and thin, with sandy brown hair that always looked messy. He had been studying deep-sea life for 10 years, but he had never been this excited about a dive. Lisa nodded and looked at her watch. It was 6 in the morning. "Good. Is Ryan finished with the final checks on the submersible?" "Almost done," Jake replied. "He says the new pressure system is working perfectly. We should be able to go down 15,000 meters below the deepest point anyone has reached before." Ryan Cole was their engineer. He had designed most of the new technology they were using. The submersible was his masterpiece. It was made of a new metal that could handle pressure that would crush normal submarines like tin cans. Ryan had spent 2 years building it, and this was its first real test. Amy Bell joined them on the deck. She was their communications specialist and computer expert. Amy was short with curly red hair and bright green eyes. She carried a tablet in her hands and looked worried. "I'm getting some strange readings from our deep-sea sensors," Amy said, showing them her tablet. "There's something down there that doesn't make sense." Lisa looked at the screen. The sonar images showed the bottom of the trench, but there were shapes that looked too regular to be natural. "What do you think it is?" "I don't know," Amy said. "Maybe rocks arranged by underwater currents, but the patterns are too perfect. It almost looks like—" She stopped talking and shook her head. "Like what?" Jake asked. "Like buildings," Amy finished quietly. The 3 scientists looked at each other. Buildings at the bottom of the Mariana Trench was impossible. Nothing could survive down there. The pressure was over 1,000 times stronger than at sea level. The temperature was just above freezing. There was no light and no oxygen. "We need to see this for ourselves," Lisa said. "Ryan, are we ready to go?" Ryan Cole appeared from inside the submersible. He was covered in grease and smiling. "She's ready, Dr. Park. This baby can take us anywhere in the ocean." The submersible looked like a large metal ball with windows and mechanical arms. It had powerful lights and cameras that could record everything they saw. Inside, there was room for 4 people and enough air for 12 hours underwater. 2 hours later, they were descending into the darkness of the Mariana Trench. Lisa sat in the pilot's seat, controlling their descent. Jake watched the depth gauge as the numbers climbed higher and higher. Amy monitored their communications and life support systems. Ryan checked all the mechanical systems and took pictures through the windows. 5,000 meters, Jake called out. Outside the windows, they could see strange fish with glowing bodies swimming in the darkness. Some had huge teeth and others had lights on their heads like flashlights. 10,000 meters, Jake said. The water was getting darker. Their powerful lights could only reach a few meters in front of them. The pressure gauge showed numbers that made Ryan nervous, but the submersible was holding together perfectly. 15,000 meters, Jake announced. "We just broke the record for the deepest manned dive in history." Lisa felt excited, but she kept her eyes on the controls. They were still going down. According to Amy's sensors, the strange shapes were still 3,000 meters below them. 18,000 meters, Jake said, his voice full of amazement. "This is impossible. The Mariana Trench isn't supposed to be this deep." Amy was staring at her sonar screen with wide eyes. "The bottom is still below us, and those shapes are getting clearer. They're definitely not natural formations." Lisa looked out the window and saw something that made her heart stop. Far below them, barely visible in the darkness, were lights. Not the natural glow of deep-sea creatures, but steady artificial lights arranged in patterns. "Do you see that?" she whispered. Ryan pressed his face against the window. "Those are electric lights, but that's impossible. Nothing could generate electricity down here." 20,000 meters, Jake said quietly. They were now deeper than anyone had ever gone. They were in unknown territory, in a part of the ocean that wasn't supposed to exist. Amy's equipment started making beeping sounds. "I'm detecting metal down there. Lots of metal, and it's not like any metal I've ever seen before. The computer can't identify it. Can you get a sample?" Lisa asked Ryan. Ryan nodded and extended one of the submersible's mechanical arms. As they got closer to the bottom, they could see the structures more clearly. They were huge, made of smooth metal that reflected their lights. The shapes were geometric, perfect triangles, squares. and circles that formed complex patterns. "This looks like a city," Jake said in amazement. Lisa landed the submersible on what looked like a flat metal surface. Through the windows, they could see walls and passages that stretched into the darkness. Everything was made of the same unknown metal that seemed to glow with a faint inner light. Ryan used the mechanical arm to collect a small sample of the metal. When he brought it inside the submersible for analysis, their equipment gave readings that made no sense. "According to this, the metal contains elements that don't exist on Earth," Ryan said, staring at his instruments. "This is impossible." Amy was recording everything with their cameras. "Look at the construction. These joints are perfect. This was built by intelligence, but not human intelligence. This technology is far beyond anything we have." Lisa made a decision that would change everything. "We're going inside." "Ryan, can you find an entrance?" Ryan maneuvered the submersible along the metal walls until he found what looked like an opening. It was perfectly round and just big enough for their submersible to fit through. As they entered the structure, their lights revealed a vast chamber filled with more geometric shapes and strange machines. Everything was preserved perfectly, as if it had been built yesterday, but Amy's instruments showed that the metal was millions of years old. "We need to contact the surface," Lisa said. "This discovery changes everything we know about Earth's history. We're not alone, and we never have been." Jake was taking pictures of everything, his hands shaking with excitement. "This is the greatest discovery in human history. This proves that intelligent life existed on Earth millions of years before humans evolved." Amy tried to contact their surface ship, but something was interfering with their communications. "I'm getting strange signals from inside the structure. It's almost like it's trying to communicate with us." As they explored deeper into the alien facility, none of them realized that their arrival had triggered systems that had been waiting for millions of years. Deep inside the structure, something was beginning to wake up. 2 days later, Dr. Lisa Park stood in a secure meeting room aboard the aircraft carrier Pacific Guardian. Across from her sat Admiral Pete Hayes, a stern man with gray hair and sharp blue eyes. Between them on the table were photographs and metal samples from their dive. "Dr. Park, what you found changes everything," Admiral Hayes said, holding up one of the photographs. "These structures are clearly not human, and according to your analysis, they're older than human civilization." Lisa nodded. "The metal contains elements we've never seen before. Our best estimate is that the facility was built at least 65 million years ago, possibly longer." Admiral Hayes picked up a secure phone and spoke quietly into it. Lisa couldn't hear what he was saying, but she noticed he used several code words. After he hung up, he looked at her seriously. "Dr. Park, what I'm about to tell you is classified at the highest level. The United States government has had protocols in place for this situation since 1952. We've been preparing for the possibility of finding evidence of non-human intelligence." Lisa felt surprised. "You knew something like this might exist?" "We hoped it didn't," the Admiral replied. "But we prepared for it anyway. As of right now, this discovery is classified under Project Deep Shield. You and your team are now under military protection and supervision." Within hours, the small research vessel, Deep Explorer, was surrounded by Navy ships. Helicopters brought in new equipment and personnel. Lisa watched as her quiet scientific expedition turned into a major military operation. Dr. Ben Clark arrived on the 3rd day. He was a tall, thin man with a beard who worked for a government agency Lisa had never heard of before. He introduced himself as a xenoarchaeologist, someone who studied alien artifacts. "Dr. Park, I've been studying reports of anomalous structures for 20 years, Dr. Clark said as they reviewed the photographs. "This is the first time we've found something this significant." Commander Kate Ross was the military leader of the new expedition. She was a tough woman in her 40s, who had led several classified underwater missions. She looked at the photos of the alien facility with professional interest. "We're going back down there with a full team," Commander Ross announced. "We need to map the entire facility and determine if there are any threats." The new submersible was 3 times larger than Lisa's original vessel. It could carry 12 people and had advanced drilling equipment, computers, and weapons. Lisa wasn't sure why they needed weapons, but Commander Ross insisted. Jake Miller was excited to be part of the larger expedition. Amy Bell had been upgraded with the most advanced communication equipment the military had. Ryan Cole was amazed by the new drilling and sampling tools they gave him. "This equipment is incredible," Ryan said, examining a device that could cut through the alien metal. Some of this technology is more advanced than anything I've seen in civilian research. Dr. Clark explained that the government had been developing special tools for exactly this situation. We've had teams of scientists working on theoretical alien technology for decades. Today we find out if our theories were correct. The descent to the alien facility took 6 hours with the larger submersible. As they approached the structures, Lisa saw that their previous visit had caused changes. Some of the lights were brighter now, and there were new patterns of illumination throughout the complex. "It's reacting to our presence," Amy observed, watching her instruments. "The facility is definitely active. Something is powering those lights." Commander Ross ordered the team to approach carefully. The new submersible had more powerful lights that revealed details they had missed before. The facility was enormous, stretching for kilometers in all directions. It wasn't just a building, it was an entire underground city. Ryan used the advanced drilling equipment to create an entrance large enough for the submersible to enter. As they moved through the corridors of the alien facility, their lights revealed walls covered with symbols and patterns that might have been writing. "Dr. Clark, are you seeing this?" Lisa asked, pointing to the symbols. Dr. Clark was already taking photographs and measurements. "These markings appear to be some form of communication, but they're unlike any language ever discovered on Earth. The patterns are too complex and mathematical." They found a large central chamber with a domed ceiling. In the center of the room was a raised platform containing what looked like a control console. The console was made of the same mysterious metal, but it had surfaces that looked like they might be screens or interfaces. "Don't touch anything yet," Commander Ross ordered. "We need to scan everything first and make sure it's safe." Amy set up her communication equipment and began analyzing the alien technology. "I'm detecting energy sources throughout the facility. Whatever powers this place is still active after millions of years." Jake was studying the walls and floors of the chamber. "The construction is perfect. There are no joints or seams anywhere. It's like the entire structure was grown or formed as a single piece." Dr. Clark was particularly interested in a series of panels near the control console. "These appear to be viewing screens or windows, but they're dark now. If we could activate them, we might be able to see what this room was used for." Ryan carefully took samples of different materials throughout the chamber. His analysis showed that every surface contained the same unknown elements but in different combinations and arrangements. "It's like they had a completely different periodic table," Ryan explained. "These elements don't exist in nature on Earth, but they're stable and durable." As the team explored the facility, Amy noticed that her communication equipment was picking up signals from deeper in the structure. "There's something else here, something big. The signals are coming from below us, maybe another kilometer down." Commander Ross made the decision to investigate. "If there's more to this facility, we need to know about it." They found a shaft that led deeper into the structure. As they descended, the walls became smoother, and the alien technology more sophisticated. The lights here were different too. Instead of white light, they glowed with soft blue and green colors. At the bottom of the shaft, they discovered another chamber, but this one was different from anything they had seen before. The walls were lined with what looked like large transparent tubes or containers. Most of them were empty, but one still held something inside. "Is that—" Jake started to say, but stopped. Inside the tube was a figure that looked humanoid but was clearly not human. It was tall and thin, with elongated limbs and a large head. Its skin was pale gray and it appeared to be sleeping or unconscious. Dr. Clark approached the tube carefully. "This appears to be some form of preservation or hibernation system. The entity inside seems to be alive but in suspended animation." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. "How long has it been in there?" Amy's instruments gave them the answer. "According to the energy readings, this system has been active for approximately 65 million years. Whatever is in there has been sleeping since before the dinosaurs went extinct." Commander Ross immediately contacted the surface team. "We have a potentially living alien entity. I'm requesting immediate guidance from command." As they waited for orders from above, none of them noticed the subtle changes occurring in the hibernation chamber. The lights were getting brighter and the mysterious symbols on the walls were beginning to glow more intensely. Deep within the alien systems, ancient protocols were activating. Something that had been waiting for millions of years was finally beginning to wake up. The hibernation chamber filled with a soft humming sound that none of them had heard before. Dr. Lisa Park watched in amazement as the transparent tube began to glow brighter. The liquid inside started to drain away and the sleeping figure began to move slightly. "Commander Ross, we have a situation," Amy Bell said, her voice tight with nervousness. "The hibernation system is activating on its own. I didn't touch anything." Commander Kate Ross immediately ordered everyone to step back from the tube. "Nobody moves closer until we know what's happening. Dr. Clark, have you ever seen anything like this in your research?" Dr. Ben Clark shook his head, his eyes fixed on the awakening figure. "This is completely outside our experience. All our theoretical work assumed any alien technology would be inactive after so much time." Ryan Cole was monitoring his instruments carefully. "The energy levels throughout the facility are increasing rapidly. Whatever is happening here, it's affecting the entire structure." The liquid in the tube was almost completely drained now. The figure inside was definitely alive and beginning to wake up. It was tall, maybe 7 feet, with long arms and legs. Its head was larger than a human head, and its eyes were closed but appeared to be much larger than human eyes. Jake Miller was taking photographs and video of everything. "This is incredible. We're witnessing the awakening of a being that has been asleep for millions of years. This is the most important moment in human history." Suddenly, the tube opened with a soft hissing sound. The figure inside took a deep, shuddering breath and slowly opened its eyes. They were large and dark, with flecks of silver that seemed to reflect light in an unusual way. The being looked around the chamber slowly, as if trying to remember where it was. When its gaze fell on the human team, it showed no surprise or fear. Instead, it seemed almost relieved. "Hello," the being said in perfect English, its voice resonating strangely in the chamber. "I have been waiting for you to find me." The human team stood in shocked silence. Lisa was the first to recover her voice. You can speak our language?" The being slowly stepped out of the hibernation tube. It moved carefully as if getting used to being awake again. "I can speak many languages. My name is Keeper Zix. I am the last guardian of this facility." Dr. Clark stepped forward cautiously. "Keeper Zix, how do you know our language? Humans didn't exist when you went into hibernation." Zix turned its large eyes toward Dr. Clark. "We have been watching your species develop for thousands of years. We learned your languages as you created them. We have been waiting for you to become advanced enough to find us." Commander Ross kept her hand near her weapon, but tried to appear non-threatening. Are there others like you?" Zix's expression became sad. "No, I am the last of my people, the hegemony. The others died long ago, fighting to protect this world." Amy was recording everything, but her hands were shaking. "Fighting against what?" Zix moved to the control console they had seen earlier. As soon as it touched the surface, the alien symbols began to glow, and screens appeared in the air above the console. The screens showed images of space with stars and planets. 65 million years ago, my people detected an approaching threat," Zix explained. "A species we called the Devourers. They travel through space, consuming the life force of entire planets, leaving dead worlds behind." The screen showed images of strange, dark ships moving between stars. Wherever they went, planets became gray and lifeless. "The Devourers were coming to Earth," Zix continued. "My people had to make a choice. We could evacuate Earth and let the Devourers consume it, or we could stay and fight." Jake was staring at the images in amazement. "You stayed and fought?" "We stayed," Zix confirmed. "Earth had become precious to us. Life here was unique and beautiful. We could not let it be destroyed." Lisa felt a chill as she realized what Zix was describing. The asteroid that killed the dinosaurs. That wasn't really an asteroid, was it? Zix manipulated the controls and the screens showed a massive battle in space above Earth. Ships from both sides fired weapons that lit up the darkness. "The asteroid impact was a side effect of the war. We fought the Devourers for years, both in space and on Earth's surface." Ryan studied the battle images. "Did you win?" "We drove them away," Zix said sadly. "But the cost was everything. My entire civilization was destroyed in the war. I was placed in hibernation as a guardian, to watch over Earth and wait for the next intelligent species to evolve." Dr. Clark was taking notes rapidly. "You've been watching human development?" "For thousands of years," Zix confirmed. "We left technology hidden around your world, designed to activate when humanity was ready. Your rapid advancement in the past century was not entirely natural. You were being prepared." Commander Ross felt a growing sense of unease. "Prepared for what?" Zix turned to look at all of them, and there was deep concern in its large eyes. The devourers were not destroyed. They were only driven away. They follow cycles, returning to worlds every few million years when life has had time to recover and grow strong again. Amy felt her heart racing. Are you saying they're coming back? They are already coming, Zix said quietly. Your satellites have detected unusual signals from the edge of your solar system. Strange objects moving toward Earth. Your governments know something is approaching, but they don't understand what it is. Lisa realized the full scope of what they had discovered. That's why the military was ready for this discovery. They know something is coming. Zix manipulated the controls again, and the screen showed recent images from space telescopes. Dark objects were visible moving past the outer planets, heading toward the inner solar system. The devourers return every 65 million years, Zix explained. They are patient. They allow life to recover and develop, then return to harvest it when it reaches peak strength. Jake was studying the approaching objects. How long do we have? Perhaps 2 years before they reach Earth, Zix said. But this time will be different. This time humanity will not face them alone. Ryan looked confused. What do you mean? Zix moved to another control panel, and new images appeared showing locations around Earth. Underwater cities, mountain ranges that looked artificial, structures hidden beneath ice caps. My people prepared Earth as a fortress world, Zix explained. Hidden technology waits in every ocean and continent. Weapons and defenses that have been dormant for millions of years, waiting for the next Guardians to activate them. Commander Ross was already thinking tactically. Can you show us how to use these weapons? I can do more than that, Zix said. I can help you understand what humanity truly is. Why the Devourers fear you more than they feared my people. Lisa felt puzzled. Fear us? We don't even have interstellar travel yet. Zix looked at her with something that might have been a smile. Dr. Park, your species possesses something unique in the galaxy. Something the Devourers consume, but can never truly understand or defeat. Amy leaned forward eagerly. What is it? Hope, Zix said simply. The ability to face impossible odds and refuse to surrender. The power to create and love and dream, even in the face of extinction. The Devourers consume life force, but humanity generates something they cannot digest. The strength of the human spirit. As Zix spoke, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. The screens showed new images. The approaching dark objects had accelerated and were now much closer than expected. They know I have awakened, Zix said urgently. We must reach the surface quickly. Humanity must be warned and prepared. The final battle for Earth is about to begin. 3 days later, Dr. Lisa Park stood in the Pentagon briefing room, watching Keeper Zix explain humanity's situation to the highest levels of the American government. The room was filled with generals, scientists, and government officials who looked both amazed and terrified. President Ellen White sat at the head of the table, listening carefully as Zix described the approaching threat. She was a strong woman in her 60s who had led the country through several crises, but nothing had prepared her for this. Keeper Zix, President White said, you're telling us that Earth has been a fortress world for 65 million years and we never knew it? Zix nodded, manipulating a portable version of the alien controls. Holographic images appeared above the table showing locations around the globe. Your people built cities and monuments on sites that were already special. The Great Pyramid, Stonehenge, Easter Island, all constructed on top of hegemony technology that has been waiting to be activated. General Tony Clark, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, studied the images carefully. What kind of weapons are we talking about? Energy projection systems that can reach into space, Zix explained. Shield generators that can protect entire continents. Manufacturing facilities that can produce defensive technology using Earth's natural resources. Dr. Ben Clark, who had become the government's leading expert on the alien technology, raised his hand. Keeper Zix, why didn't your people just activate these systems themselves during the First War? Because the systems require a living population to power them, Zix replied. My people were too few by the end of the war. The weapons need the life force of billions of thinking beings to operate at full capacity. This is why we waited for humanity to develop and multiply. Amy Bell was operating the communication systems that allowed Zix's technology to interface with human computers. The data they were seeing was overwhelming. According to these readings, there are hegemony installations under every major city on Earth. Jake Miller had been studying the biological data that Zix provided. The Devourers aren't just invaders. They're like a virus that consumes entire civilizations. They've destroyed hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. President White made a decision that would change human history forever. We're going to tell the world everything. Humanity deserves to know what we're facing and what we're capable of. Within hours, every television, radio, and internet connection on Earth carried the same message. President White appeared on screen with Keeper Zix beside her, explaining the approaching threat and the hidden technology that had been protecting Earth for millions of years. The global reaction was immediate and intense. Some people panicked, others refused to believe it was real, but most began asking what they could do to help. Religious leaders called it divine intervention. Scientists around the world started working together in ways they never had before. Ryan Cole was leading one of the teams trying to understand and activate the hidden technology. "It's incredible," he told Lisa as they examined a newly revealed installation beneath the Nevada desert. "This machinery is so advanced it seems like magic, but it's all based on scientific principles we're just beginning to understand." The installation was enormous, stretching for miles underground. Machines that had been dormant for millions of years were coming to life, producing materials and devices that human science couldn't yet explain. Dr. Alan Fox, a quantum physicist from MIT, had been brought in to study how the hegemony technology worked. "They've figured out how to manipulate matter at the subatomic level," he explained to the team. "They can literally rearrange atoms to create whatever materials they need." Zix worked tirelessly to help humans understand and activate the defensive systems. As each installation came online, humanity began to see the true scope of their planet's hidden nature. The Pacific Ocean floor rose in several places, revealing underwater cities that had been concealed for millions of years. Mountain ranges around the world opened up to show massive weapon platforms. Even the moon they discovered contained hegemony technology. "Your moon is not entirely natural," Zix explained to a gathering of astronomers. "My people hollow out portions of it to create a forward observation post. From there, we watched your solar system for signs of the Devourer's return." Captain Steve Blake was chosen to lead humanity's first space fleet. He was an experienced fighter pilot and astronaut who had commanded several international space missions. The ships they gave him were built using hybrid human hegemony technology. "These vessels are beyond anything we've ever built," Captain Blake reported from the bridge of the flagship Earth's Hope. "They can travel faster than light and fight in ways our military never imagined possible. But as impressive as the technology was, Zix kept insisting that humanity's real strength was something else entirely. The Devourers have faced advanced technology before," Zix explained to Lisa during one of their conversations. "They have destroyed civilizations that were more technologically sophisticated than my people. But they have never faced a species like humanity." Lisa was curious about this claim. "What makes us so special?" "Your emotions," Zix said. "Your ability to create art, music, stories, and dreams. Your capacity to love others more than yourselves. The Devourers consume life force, but human life force is different from any other species in the galaxy." Jake had been studying the biological aspects of this claim. "Are you saying our emotions are literally a form of energy?" "More than energy," Zix replied. "Human consciousness generates patterns of life force that the Devourers cannot digest. When humans feel hope, love, courage, or determination, you produce something toxic to the Devourers." Amy was monitoring communications from around the world. "People are responding to the crisis in amazing ways. Art galleries are staying open all night. Musicians are playing in the streets. Writers are sharing stories freely online. It's like the whole world is celebrating human creativity." This was exactly what Zix had hoped to see. "Your species understands instinctively what needs to be done. Every song, every story, every act of kindness makes you stronger, and the Devourers weaker." The first contact with the approaching Devourer fleet came 6 months earlier than Zix had predicted. Captain Grace Lee, commanding the monitoring station on the moon, reported strange signals from the edge of the solar system. "We're detecting massive objects moving past Pluto," Captain Lee transmitted to Earth. "They're not trying to hide anymore. I count at least 50 vessels, each one larger than our biggest space station." President White convened an emergency session with world leaders. For the first time in human history, every nation on Earth agreed to work together against a common threat. "This is our moment," President White announced to the world. "Everything our species has ever accomplished, every dream we've ever dreamed, every love we've ever felt, it all leads to this. We are not just fighting for our own survival. We are fighting for the future of consciousness itself in this galaxy." Zix stood beside the president, its alien features somehow conveying deep respect for humanity. "My people chose correctly when they decided to protect this world. Humanity is ready to become what we always hoped you would become, the galaxy's new guardians." As the Devourer fleet approached Earth, every human on the planet could feel that history was about to be made. The technology was ready, the weapons were charged, and the defenses were active. But the real battle would be won or lost in the hearts and minds of 8 billion human beings who refused to surrender their right to exist, to dream, and to hope. The Devourer fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system on a Tuesday morning. Captain Steve Blake watched from the bridge of Earth's Hope as 50 massive black ships, each one the size of a city, took positions around the outer planets. "They're beautiful in a terrifying way," reported Captain Grace Lee from the moon base. "The ships look like they're made of living shadow. They're absorbing light from the stars around them." On Earth, 8 billion people watched the sky and waited. President Ellen White had declared the day a global unity celebration. Instead of hiding in fear, humans everywhere were gathering in public spaces to sing, dance, and share stories. Dr. Lisa Park stood in Times Square with Keeper Zix, watching thousands of people from every nation and culture celebrating humanity together. Musicians played instruments from every continent while artists painted and writers shared poetry. "I never expected this," Zix said, its large eyes reflecting the colorful lights and joyful crowds. "When my people faced the Devourers, we met them with fear and desperation. Humanity meets them with celebration." Jake Miller was broadcasting live from the square, showing the world how humans were responding to the crisis. "People aren't acting like this is the end," he reported. "They're acting like this is a beginning." The first attack came at noon. The Devourer ships fired weapons that looked like streams of darkness toward Earth. But as the dark energy approached the planet, it struck invisible barriers that flashed with rainbow colors. Amy Bell monitored the defense systems from the command center beneath the Pentagon. "The planetary shields are holding perfectly. The hegemony technology is absorbing their attacks and converting the energy into power for our own systems." Ryan Cole was amazed by the readings he was seeing. "Every time they attack us, our defenses get stronger. It's like the shields are feeding on their weapons." But Zix looked concerned as it studied the data. "The Devourers are not using their full power yet. They are testing our defenses, looking for weaknesses. The real test came when the Devourer ships began approaching Earth directly. As they entered the inner solar system, they started emitting a field that drained life force from everything around them. Plants withered, animals became weak, and humans began to feel tired and hopeless. This is how they conquered other worlds," Zix explained. "They project despair and hopelessness, weakening their enemies before the final attack." But something unexpected happened. As the despair field reached Earth, humans began fighting back in the most human way possible. Musicians played louder, artists painted brighter colors, and people everywhere began telling stories of hope and courage. Dr. Alan Fox was monitoring the energy readings from his laboratory. "It's incredible. The human response to the despair field is generating massive amounts of positive energy. We're literally pushing back against their attack with pure human spirit." Captain Blake led the space fleet into battle as the Devourer ships reached Mars. The human ships, powered by hegemony technology and human determination, proved more than a match for the ancient enemy. "Their ships are powerful," Captain Blake reported during the first engagement, "but they seem confused by our tactics. They don't understand why we're not afraid." The battle raged for 3 days. Devourer ships fired weapons that had destroyed countless civilizations, but Earth's defenders fought with a combination of advanced technology and human courage that the Devourers had never encountered before. Captain Grace Lee made a discovery that changed the course of the battle. "The Devourers are actually weakening," she reported from the moon base. "Their ships are losing power every time our people celebrate or create something beautiful." Zix realized what was happening. "The Devourers feed on fear, despair, and death. But humanity is generating so much hope and life force that you're poisoning them. They cannot digest human courage. President White made a decision that would be remembered for thousands of years. She ordered every communication system on Earth to broadcast a single message to the galaxy. The greatest expression of human culture ever assembled. Every song ever recorded. Every story ever written. Every piece of art ever created. All of it transmitted simultaneously toward the Devourer fleet and out into space for any other species to receive. The effect was immediate and dramatic. As Earth's cultural heritage washed over the Devourer ships, the ancient predators began to retreat. Their dark vessels, which had consumed the life force of hundreds of worlds, could not withstand the concentrated creativity and hope of humanity. "They're running," Captain Blake reported with amazement. "The Devourers are actually fleeing from us." But the most important moment came when one of the Devourer ships broke away from the fleet and approached Earth alone. Instead of attacking, it transmitted a message in the same mathematical language that Zix had taught to human computers. Amy Bell translated the message with shaking hands. It says they surrender. They want to learn how to be like us instead of consuming other species. Zix was stunned. In all the millions of years my people fought the Devourers, none of them ever sought to change. Humanity has accomplished something that was thought impossible. The leader of the Devourer fleet, a being that called itself the First Hunger, came to Earth to meet with human representatives. It was a creature of shadow and darkness, but in the presence of human creativity and hope, it began to change. "We have consumed 1,000 worlds," the First Hunger said to President White and Keeper Zix. "But we have never encountered a species that made us want to create instead of destroy. Teach us to be like you." Dr. Lisa Park, who had started this journey by diving into the deepest part of the ocean, now found herself helping to establish the first diplomatic relations between humanity and a former enemy. "Species, it's incredible," she said to Jake as they watched human artists teaching Devourer beings how to paint and make music. "We didn't defeat them through superior technology or military might. We defeated them by being ourselves." The transformation of the galaxy began immediately. Other species that had hidden from the Devourers for millions of years began to emerge. Earth became the center of a new galactic civilization based on creativity, cooperation, and hope instead of fear and consumption. Zix's people had sacrificed everything to protect Earth, believing that someday a species would emerge that could succeed where they had failed. As the last guardian of the hegemony, Zix watched humanity take its place as the galaxy's new protectors with deep satisfaction. 1 year later, Dr. Lisa Park stood on the bridge of the starship New Earth, humanity's first vessel designed for exploring and protecting the galaxy. Through the windows, she could see dozens of ships from different species, all working together to rebuild worlds that had been damaged by the Devourers. The Mariana Trench facility had been converted into Earth's Galactic Defense Command. Jake Miller was now the director of interspecies biological studies. Amy Bell managed communications with hundreds of different alien cultures. Ryan Cole designed new technologies that combined the best of human and alien engineering. President White had been elected as the first leader of the Galactic Council, representing not just humanity but all species working together for peace and prosperity. Keeper Zix served as an advisor and historian, helping to preserve the knowledge of the past while building toward a better future, the last of its people. Zix had found a new family among the humans who had awakened it from its long sleep. "My people always wondered what would happen if a species could resist the Devourers not through technology or military power, but through the strength of spirit," Zix said to Lisa as they watched new worlds being colonized by cooperative teams of different species. "Now we know," Lisa replied, thinking back to that first dive into the deep ocean that had started everything. Sometimes the greatest discoveries aren't found in the deepest trenches or the farthest stars. Sometimes they're found in the human heart. The galaxy was no longer a place where species hid in fear from predators. It had become a place where consciousness and creativity could flourish, protected by beings who understood that the greatest strength came not from the ability to destroy, but from the courage to hope, to dream, and to never give up on the possibility that tomorrow could be better than today. Humanity had found its place in the universe not as conquerors, but as gardeners of hope in a galaxy that had forgotten how to dream.